Yeah.
Those electro sawtooths, like with really basically just like a sawtooth overdriven with like white noise, like super hard, and it gives you like this really gritty sound. And I feel like it's like chocolate chip cookies. It's just not going to get boring ever.
I totally agree.
And just repeating my loop and then putting different block arrangements like help me like visualize, okay, where do I want to take the track?
So it really became a great arrangement tool
Oh
for
yeah,
you.
Ableton has like a similar function, but it's just not as good as how Reason does it. And I played with a lot of DAWs. They're just not as good as Reason in that sense. And now that like every DAW basically sounds like their output like engine, like the coding is so good nowadays that it all sounds basically the same. They're like all like 32-bit. They're all really good. So
From an audio, you're speaking from an audio engine perspective.
yeah. So basically what you're choosing when you're choosing a DAW is like your like user experience essentially nowadays. And I just really like the way Reason flows.
This is the bass bus stem from Epica here.
Okay.
Let's check it out.
So right now you're hearing it fade in, which is a technique I love to do, because right now this is like the build-up section, and this is teasing the bass before it like fully drops in.
Right. Now, what I'm hearing right away that I love is you've got an element that goes to mono, and then it pulls out to stereo. I can hear it going mono to stereo. How are you doing that?
Very clever ear noticing. So the thing is I have a separate layer of a synth that's just like wide. Like I have it's high pass to such a degree. I think like 1K and down is like where it's like the lows are cut from like 1K and down. And I have like this widener tool on it, so it's just super wide.
Which one do you use? Which widener do you like to use?
I've been using I think it's called like Fatuator.
Okay.
They have this setting where you can just turn it all the way to like a wide setting, and it's like a saturation tool, but it has like this really cool widener effect, and I like it more than the Ozone Isotope widener because it doesn't take up so much processing power.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's a factor. Yeah. Right. So you're closing it down, and bam.
Yeah.
You get a big wide image and all the low end dropping at the same time.
It's really helpful because the way I've been mastering, like contrary to like what traditional mixing engineers suggest, I've been kind of killing my dynamic range, and to sort of like bring back that dynamics, I've been utilizing like other type of spectrums, like the stereo image, to sort of bring back that dynamic range without, compromising like the loudness of my mastering. So that melody like goes throughout the entire track. It dropped out now because this is like where the buildup would happen, and like the bass is going to go through. But that melody is like playing like a C minor arpeggio, and I use that to kind of establish like this is going to be a melodic track. Now it's like gotten a little bit more open because this is the second part of the drop.
Sure. So it sounds like you open the filter up and you're side chaining it here.
Yeah,
is it side chaining?
It's very side chained,
Yeah.
because this is when now it's starting to get bit crushed because it's going into like the breakdown now.
Yeah.
I side chained it a lot because I really like wanted the kick and bass to come through. I feel like with like heavy dance music, heavy bass music, the drums are like always going to be the star and always going to be the loudest instrument. Even when it's like more of a melodic track, I tend to find that on the dance floor, you really want to hear the drums. So now in the breakdown, I'm starting to bring in more modulation.
This is nice. This is like almost cinematic in a way. The chord progression feels really cinematic here.
I have some Miroslav vocal samples going in, which is this really cool Reason refill, which is like a sample packs specifically for Reason.
Yeah.
And I have like different layers of vocal samples, so they almost sound like they're actually speaking, like different types of like laws and ahs, so it sounds like a choir, which was inspired by listening to a lot of Danny Elfman music.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's exactly what was going through my head. I was thinking Edward Scissorhands almost.
Yeah, I just watched that movie with my family a couple days ago.
Oh yeah? How funny. That's great.
The thing is like the ocean to me is like a real life epic thing, and like most humans like recognize that like, oh, that's epic, the ocean. So that I kind of like put that under there. Ooh, there was like a big screech. Now we're in the drop now, so these are like little like fills that like happen during like the spaces of the bass line to create more like drama.
It's like ear candy drama here. Yeah.
And I just feel like that sometimes like different call and response sounds of the bass can get a little boring, even though it's like really exciting. If you just like sparkle a little non-bass fills, it could be really exciting. This sound effects bus is basically just providing that atmosphere that just brings like a high sort of frequency top sheen to everything. And when it's all mastered together, it really adds so much fidelity to the track, and it's able to like make things sound really loud without it being too loud.
It's interesting how that a sense of ambience, even as subtle as that, really adds to, like you said, the epic feel of the track, the feeling like you're somewhere else. And it's almost somewhat akin to like lo-fi style of production, where you're hearing the crackling, the pops, and it's like that downgrading of the sound, almost like the bit crushing effect that creates an ambiance, a feel that without it, it's just not the same thing, right? The OTT is that when you've got multiple pitches like this, are you running this through an effects bus, or are you putting the OTT on the individual tracks, or are you grouping them? How are you doing that?
The OTT, okay, so we have two layers of the vocals, one pitch down by 3, one pitch down by 1, panned left, right, respectively. Then those are fed through just a busing group, and on that bus, I put the OTT on, so they're blending together. They sound more like, they're glued. They're like one voice.
Perfect technique. Yeah.
And then on that bus, I apply some like space effects, like delay and a little bit of reverb. And I'm also like cutting out some low end, because the OTT adds a lot of low end because it's bringing up everything. And so I'll EQ it after the OTT. And so me and Dylan collabed on K-Theory, and we were creating like a dubstep project, and we were trying to like bring dubstep to a new level, because it wasn't really, at that time, it was very like dubby, like, like smoking a joint, Rastafarian, like chilled back dubby. And I wanted to bring it like more electrified and like modernized, which it totally is like nowadays. But we were trying to do that back in 2010, and we meshed really well. We like would meet each other at his school and Pure Mind, and would like produce together. And
I remember you guys booking the studios there and working on tracks together.
And we were just having like a really good like workflow. And as like dubstep started getting bigger, I think like Skrillex released Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites in 2011. We kind of decided to pivot, because I showed him this song by Juno Reactor, who's like a really old school producer. I don't know if they're still doing stuff. And it was like a track at like 100 BPM. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. What if we did dubstep at like 100 BPM? And we started experimenting with glitch hop, which I don't know like how popular glitch hop is now, but that was like my first foray into mid-tempo, and Dylan was super into it, and like other people were super into it, and we became kind of known as like glitch hop pioneers around 2011 to 2012. Late 2012, early 2013, we wanted to expand, because glitch hop kind of had like a hip hop sound, so like it naturally made us think like, well, what if we put like hip hop vocals on it? And that's when we brought in our vocalist, Malcolm Anthony. And that kind of changed the sound of K-Theory into more of like, like a hip-hop group. And we started experimenting with 808s, because trap started blowing up around 2011, 2012. And we just had a hip-hop producer, so we're like, oh, let's like throw some 808s in and see what happens. And we had some pretty, that's like when K-Theory really started blowing up, because with like, the cutting edge production of like EDM, underground EDM, plus like a more mainstream sounding rap vocalist, it took K-Theory to another level.
And now I'm looking at your Spotify here on with K-Theory, and you guys have still quite a few monthly followers, over like 180,000 here. It's pretty big. You got 180,000 listens, and some of your top tracks I'm looking at here, this one called GDFR, featuring Sage the Gemini and Lucas. It's got over 8,888 plays on it.
Yeah,
That's pretty significant, man.
That was an official remix for those guys. They actually they're one of the many like top artists that have approached K-Theor for remixes. We were known for like remixes because we would do a lot of remixes that would get posted on Trap Nation, which is like gotten so huge. That remix, the GDFR, was actually nominated for a Grammy, which was super exciting because I mean when I was first doing this stuff like back in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I was never even thinking about like Grammy nominations. So that's super cool that being a part of K-Theory and that trio like gave us the opportunity to become Grammy nominated.
Yeah, it's incredible.